out what prompted you to end up being embedded with the Princess Pats, and secondarily, how did you get such unprecedented access to them? Because really, we haven't seen this kind of access to Canadian soldiers in theater since the Korean War, really. How did you, an American, end up with that?
So a couple of things on that. One, I was with a very unique element that was in Afghanistan from the very beginning. The National Guard's role were combat advisors. They didn't call them that. They call them embedded trainers. Later, the Canadian version of that were called omelets. So the combat advisors were attached to the Afghans. And so when this mission was coming up, and it was called Operation Mountain Thrust, the American lieutenant colonel did the liaison with Lieutenant Colonel Ian Hope's command to ask and to get the permissions to have me be there, which would also put me there alongside of the Canadians. So that's kind of how that all got started out. That negotiation took about a month or so. And it was all worked out. So then once we got into you never know what you're going to get when you go into a war zone, to be honest with you. And it just so happened that the group that I was with, which was ACOI, Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry, PPCLI, ended up seeing the majority of the action. The unprecedented access was really, that was Colonel Ian Hope's vision, was really to be able to get close to the soldiers. And my whole intent over there was to take what Ernie Pyle had done with the storytelling of World War II and do that in film. And so really personalize, when I say personalize war, let the soldier really tell the story and experience through the optics of the soldier. And that was my constant push. The other part of that too was just building the relationships. Like all soldiers, when you come in with a camera, they're very suspicious, and rightfully so, because I think that soldiers are very unjustly treated by the majority of media. And having worked with media too much, I will say personally, they are. So we'll leave it at that. But once they started to see that, and they learn a little bit about me, because I had been a soldier, then they started to see how I was operated. I understood a lot about how their movements were, so I was able to work with them instead of against them. I didn't have to be coached. We built very quickly, and combat tends to do that. In a very short amount of time, you can build tight relationships. And really after day one, I think that we had a pretty good understanding that we were going to work together here really well. And I was willing to take the same risks they were. And I saw that as my job as much as anything. And from there, we just had kind of an amazing ride. I will tell you, it was an amazing 10 days that I think tells an incredible story. And I know this is going to sound a little bit biased coming from a filmmaker, but that's okay. I think it tells an incredible story, not just about soldiers, but I think it tells an incredible story about Canada and what it is to be proud of a nation, fighting for a nation, and yet uphold the Canadian values that much of the world doesn't really appreciate. I mean, they do this so well in their interviews and in their experience, and they are, and we'll get to this a little bit more, but I mean, they just really demonstrate to me, they personify the proud Canadian aspect in this film.
That's an excerpt from my weekly show, The Gun Show. It airs every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Each week, I bring you an informal interview with an interesting newsmaker or citizen activist you might not have heard of, but who is making a big difference in Canadian politics. And we'll talk about issues in a way you'll never see done in the mainstream media. To subscribe, go to therebel.media/shows.